Welcome to another episode of Five Lemons Laughing. I'm Amanda. I'm here with Morgan, Drusilla, and Penny.
Good
And
morning. Well,
good morning.
it might be afternoon or evening wherever you are.
Yes, because Melissa, she is moving to Europe, and who knows what time it is. She's not with us today. Hopefully, she'll be back next week. So today, we are diving into something both simple and powerful. It's the way we see each other. Because every glance, every word, every little thought, we're either lifting people up or slowly chipping away their confidence. What if the way we show up could be the reason someone rises or shrinks? In this episode, we're talking about the ripple effect of our presence, how our intentions, our energy, even our silent judgments can either empower or hold back others, and how choosing to see with love can shift not just our relationship, but the world around us.
I think you're right, Amanda. This is going to be so powerful. I mean, it's like thinking about how you treat someone actually really influences how they act out, right? You know, it's like we're constantly sending messages through our tone, the way we look at people, and even our expectations of them. It's pretty profound when you think about it. You know, so we have to kind of step back and think about, are we uplifting people? Are we holding them back? You know, without meaning to, of course. And what would happen if we made the choice to support and encourage others? Each moment of each interaction, imagine the impact. You know, a sidebar real quick. I listened to a near-death experience, and I never heard this one before, of the experience that, you know, the whole life flashing before you part that most people talk about. This one lady said that when she had the flashback and she was in this room, and in that room, and it happened so quickly, but in that room was everybody she ever had an encounter with. Even people from the market, from the store, from every single person. And we know from the course that that is true, that every interaction is a holy encounter.
Wow.
But this was the first time I heard someone experience it, and it mirrored what we've learned in the course. So amazing.
You know, it reminds me of the book, the Five People You'll Meet in Heaven. I think that's the name of the book. And when the person dies and they get to heaven, and it's these five people that he never expected he had any impact on in their life. And he meets them in heaven, and they tell him what he did for them impacted them. It's kind of beautiful to think about that. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. We don't know how, we don't even have the slightest concept of how we are impacting the world and the people we meet each day, for good or bad.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And, you know, another thing that you said too, Drusilla, is that it's not just our verbal words, it's our unspoken body language, the tone of our voice, because I believe it's 97% of our communication is unspoken. And so if we think about that, like just 3% is the words. It's like 97, 96. I'm not sure. It's way up in the 90s though. And so we're talking, we're sending messages all the time, whether we're talking or not.
Yeah.
And that's really something to consider as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it goes back to what Amanda said in the introduction about the beliefs that we're holding about people and how we're seeing people.
Mm-hmm.
We are on this spiritual path, and you know, we are of course in miracle students and spiritual students, and so this whole idea of everything is energy or frequency and everything is connected is not a new concept to us. But to me, your statistic about the 90-something% being unverbal is directly correlated to that. But for the scientific brains out there who are not, you know, who don't take things by spiritual teachings alone, like same thing, just a different way of saying it. Like
Mhm.
our energy and the thoughts that we hold about people are just as impactful, more impactful than the things we say to them.
My mind is like looping like my recent interactions and like really like analyzing them. That's why I'm quiet. I'm like, oh,
Mm.
interesting. Like every little interaction influences someone, especially when we're in someone else's space. Like we were saying, Morgan, I really believe that as I cultivate more love in my being, more love is radiated on the earth. But, um, I'm certainly not floating, right? I'm actually sitting in my chair right now and I'm in this body and it's, what if I'm in kind of a numb mood and I go out in public? What if I am, like whatever, listen to something on the radio that is not uplifting and, brings me down. And then I go out and interact with others. Like, wow, that is just powerful to even think about that.
Mhm.
Not even to mention like actually being rude to somebody, or, flipping someone off or in the driving, like that's it's a real wake up call to think
Mhm.
about that.
Yeah. Was there, when you were ruminating about your recent encounters, was there anyone that stuck out in your mind that you'd like to share?
The biggest one is not obviously, but like the person I interact most with is my husband. And over the last several years, um, I've made an intention to see the divine in him, see him as light. And I think I've mentioned this on a couple episodes, is to like actually think that he can make, grown decisions that will benefit our family instead of me having to like control everything and, put everything in place. Because it speaks more about me having to control the, less about him and his ability to um, do what's right for the family. I want to make that clear because he's a very intelligent man. But my mind thinks that he could make better decisions because that's what wives do. So I've been consciously, I mean, since we moved here, and it's been almost 7 years now, um, am switching from seeing him as something to be fixed into something that is already perfect. And our relationship is shifting and changing, right? It is completely different. So I think that's my most positive experience so far.
Mm.
That's really beautiful, Amanda.
Mm.
Yes, it is.
And
I think
very challenging. Hmm.
yeah. Mm.
I know it's a thinker, isn't it?
Well, it's just like I as you were saying, you were looping through your interactions. I was thinking, like what was mine like? So maybe let's all just pause for a moment and just think about our most recent interactions that we had and just think about how we showed up. Did we show up empowering and loving and with kindness, or did we show up pushing and forcing and thinking we knew what was best for whatever was happening? And it's kind of a fine line, isn't it? It's like, are you a pushover or are you, it's kind of a fine line. I just thought of that, you know.
Very much so, Penny. That I feel like that is the story of my life, honestly, in a nutshell. Like, and you've all witnessed me, pretty regularly having these, little gray areas of to address or not to address. To, is it really a boundary or is it judging? Is it, and it is for me. I tend to choose silence more than words. But as we've discussed in opening up this episode, that silence doesn't mean that I'm not communicating something, right? And so I think it's important for me to be more aware of that, what I'm not saying. Because I do think that I am more in control or aware of what I am saying. And so I'm choosing silence, but that doesn't always translate into me being supportive and being caring and uplifting.
Yeah. I relate to that for sure.
My mom always said, if you don't have something good to say about somebody, don't say anything at all. Right?
But then we go back to what you said about 96%
Yeah,
being communicated
exactly.
not through words. It's like they're still picking up whatever's going on in our brain behind the scenes, in our mind
Ain't
behind the
that
scenes.
the truth? Yeah.
So it is great to have the wherewithal to pause and realize, like, these are not kind words that want to come out of my mouth. So I'm just not going to say anything. Um,
But I'm thinking them.
yeah, but I'm thinking
Yeah. Yeah.
it, it's
Yeah.
a step in the right direction, at
Yeah,
least.
I was just gonna say, it's like you gotta, you don't have to do anything, but to acknowledge if you were the one that would always criticize and put someone down, and then you just acknowledging, I don't want to do that anymore, and just to stop doing it. I mean,
Mhm.
that's a huge
Yeah.
step. So not to diminish that at all. Our listeners are growing and a little bit more spiritually advanced, so like this, if this is the next step, right, is to what actually is going on in your mind, and do you want to
Mhm.
lift people? I mean, I guess that's the first question. Do you want to lift somebody up? Do you want to lift up all those around you, or do you want to diminish them?
Mhm.
I mean, that's the question.
Yeah, and I appreciate you putting it in such simple terms, because as we were thinking of our recent exchanges, the two people that came to mind, of course, I could bring up my husband, but since I do that every episode, I decided to broaden my search, and I realized that two people in my life that I'm pretty close to. One of my dear friends who is that I spend a lot of time with, and sometimes we park in their driveway, so we're kind of our roomies. And also my mother-in-law seem to be having some cognitive decline issues, and it's interesting how, as I was sitting with it here in this conversation, I had the realization that it's much easier for me to pray for someone the A Course in Miracles way and know the truth for them when they're on the path with me. But when they are on their own spiritual journey, and maybe there's some overlap in what we believe, but we don't really talk about it, and they're not in the same spiritual circles as me, it's like I get pulled back into just the 3D and see them as needing my help, see them as getting worse, getting progressively worse, and see their struggles and their frustrations and their discouragement. And it's interesting, like, for people, it's interesting that I am, and like, whenever any of you ask me for prayer support, ask us in the group for prayer support, I just go into knowing the truth for you and holding the truth for you. And I don't really get mired in the story. That feels a little bit more challenging in these situations for some reason, and I'm not sure why. But this is a good conversation because it's bringing it to my awareness. I'd like to see them as whole and empowered and complete, and know that, this isn't the truth of who they are. It just feels kind of hollow in the not real world, though. It's not that those are things that I would say to them. Anyway, I'm just speaking this through out loud and kind of processing. I don't know.
Yeah, I love that. So let me ask you this direct question. And you just said it, but I'm going to ask it so you can say it again to make it a little bit more powerful. How do you want to see them?
Yeah. I just their beauty, their innocence, their wholeness, their perfection, and and on the opposite end of that spectrum, I don't want to engage in enabling or pitying or any of those kind of conditioned behaviors that we like to gravitate towards.
The judgment.
Yeah. The
Yeah.
judgment that something is wrong. And yeah.
So let me ask a follow-up question. What do you know about them with the capital K?
I mean, I feel like a broken record, but I know their perfection. I know their wholeness. And I know that, you know, their path is perfect. I know that they, on some level, have chosen this path, not to victim blame or victim shame or anything like that. But why would I interfere with their curriculum? Or, and I also know that miracles are occurring naturally, spontaneously all the time. And I know that healing and wholeness are their reality. And yeah, I know worrying is not helpful. And yeah.
Doesn't that feel different though? I would like to, and I know.
Yeah.
That's a tool that people can use, right? Like if you are going out into the world and the answer to the question that I asked earlier is, do you want to lift people up or do you want to break them down? If the answer is, I want to lift them up, well, and you can't quite get there, start with I would like, then, shift into what you know.
Yeah. Yep. And you just reminded me, sorry, I want you to finish that thought. I'll remember mine.
No, I'm done. That was
Okay.
my
You reminded me of something I heard from Abraham Hicks a while back. But they said something to the effect of like, the reason Jesus was able to heal people is because people could come like dripping blood in front of him and he would just cut right through it and not see it, not acknowledge it. That feels very difficult to do because it feels in this world like you're just Susie Sunshine walking through la 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 la, nothing to see here, nothing's going wrong here. So it's been a tricky road to navigate, how to not seem totally lacking in compassion and empathy while also not giving credence to whatever dis-ease seems to be occurring for someone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think, and listening to you, Morgan, I love what you're sharing because it's probing me to think deeper about it as well. And it seems to me the difference between what I feel happens, which seems to be similar to you, and what I know about the Christ vision is that the belief in disease, the belief in harm to the body was non-existent for him. So he saw what he believed inside. And so until we change our beliefs about the body and being separate from everybody, we're not going to be able to change what we see because we're only projecting what's inside.
Very, very interesting. Yeah. Thank you for that perspective. That feels helpful. Penny, for your thoughts.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about this is a pretty deep subject. It is like really becoming aware of how we be in the world every moment. It's I want to say it's a big ask.
Yeah.
Not a big ass, a big ask. And yeah, I was thinking about the gurus like in India that just they sit and they meditate. I mean, that's their choice to go that way, but they don't really think about their body or anything else except their connection to source. And they're, I mean, I think we've all had experiences of people that are very connected to source and how they just radiate love. You can't help but get into that higher vibration when you're around them because that's what they vibrate. And I've been around even some people that are just Buddhists, and they're really practicing Buddhists. Not that there's not any unreal practicing Buddhists, but and just to be in their presence is so beautiful because it's like life is easy. Life just flows. Oh, I want to get there, man. And I'm not there yet. you know? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, here is another something to contemplate. If what we're talking about, right? This is what we're talking about. The power that each individual holds in the world.
Hmm.
I mean, think about that power. Like it's can be super scary, right? So it's for me on my path, when I started really contemplating this, I was more afraid of actually having that power, right? Like than just to be numb and just to go about thinking whatever I want. Because if you really think about it, showing up as that presence,
Mhm.
it's some life-changing stuff. And to say yes to that, feels like a lot of responsibility.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah. But it also feels exciting. And I think I just had like kind of not a breakthrough, but just like an awareness about like, so I think Gary Renard, the A Course in Miracles author, I don't know, he says just be normal in the world, just act normal. And
Mhm.
so what I'm thinking with these people who seem to be facing some sort of illness, um, you would just be normal. Redirect the conversation away from self-pity or pity as soon as it's possible to do so. Don't let them go down that rabbit hole. But it's just like you don't go to a funeral and say everything happens for a reason, because that's not helpful to do. And A Course in Miracles doesn't ask us to teach or preach with our words. So I'm thinking I can just be normal and compassionate and use some of the same language, anyone would use, um, and be silently affirming the truth, because we just talked about how people pick up on that, whether we're speaking it out loud or not. And so maybe that's the the simple way to deal with these kinds of things.
Yeah, I like that. That 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 sounds very practical, Morgan. It really does. Like um and to your point, Amanda, I think it was, oh my gosh, now I don't know if it was Brene Brown or Marion Williamson that said that, um, you know, that is the biggest fear of every human, that we are that powerful,
Mhm. Yeah.
Amanda.
Marianne
Like,
Williamson. Yeah.
yeah,
It's not
yeah, that,
it's not our
and
darkness, it's our light that we fear the most. Yeah.
yes, yes. And that just so resonates with me in terms of showing up, just showing up, which is similar to what you said, Morgan. Just showing up in your essence. And that's all we need to do. We need to do
Mhm.
nothing else.
Mhm.
But it seems so daunting just to do that, you know? And it is the fear. I feel that so strongly. It's the fear of the power. Yeah.
Well, and what I've learned too in my journey is that it's just a very, very fine line between fear and excitement. Morgan
Yeah.
mentioned the excitement. Drusilla mentions the fear. It's just a
Yeah.
very, very fine line between the two. And so if we can just interrupt ourselves and say, no, that's not fear, that's excitement,
Mhm.
and switch it in our own self, that might be a tool that could help. It's kind of mind bending. The first time I heard that there's just a fine line between the two, I thought, what are you talking about? Are you crazy? Like, there's no fine line. Fear is real and it's much stronger than excitement. But if you really look at it, yeah, it can be all excitement instead of fear.
Yeah. Mm. Well, thank you for letting me talk through that. It felt very helpful and clarifying.
Mhm.
And it was really good to bring it to my awareness, really helpful to bring it to my awareness so I can be more mindful of how I'm holding them and
What will
impact.
you do? What will you do differently, Morgan?
I think I'll just, I think I'm going to just practice the silent affirmations and the silent, like, gratitudes and blessings while I'm interacting with them. If particularly if they're in a space of talking about their wholeness.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And if I find myself going into a space of kind of ruminating about what's to come for them, I'll just bring it back to affirming the truth and being present and grateful for things exactly as they are right now.
For every day that we have, right? Every hour that we have. Because who knows, right?
Yeah.
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 So that's amazing, Morgan, because we're talking about like every interaction. Are you, tearing them up or tearing them up, bringing them down or lifting them up, right? Every time that you're around them or thinking about them, are you lifting them up or tearing them down?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good thing to consider for sure.
So Amanda's dogs are having fun in the background. We can't hear them, Amanda. Just so you know.
I have a question that I think we all could gain from asking ourselves. So, generally speaking, what is the energy that we're giving off in
Mm-hmm.
our regular day to day?
Mm-hmm.
That would be really fun to ask those people that are closest to us, right? Like, what is the energy that I give off on a day-to-day basis? Like,
Yeah.
what are you picking up from me right now? Because I think like here, I see all your guys' energy is beautiful. It's calm, it's present, you're engaged. Yeah. But then we walk out of this frame.
Yeah.
What's our energy?
All right. All of our friends that are listening to this,
Yeah.
sure that you reach out and let us know that. The good
I,
and
I
bad. Mm-hmm.
I hope it's okay that I say this, and I hope it doesn't feel like air and dirty laundry. But I feel the energy, even amongst us, it's different when we talk business. And
Mhm.
I'm venturing to say that I don't even like it. And I don't, and I'm not saying that it's the energy. It could be the business because I too, in my own professional life, I love the creative aspect of filmmaking and I hate the business, right? Um, and so it's probably a culmination of that I love seeing you all in the spiritual and talking about the spiritual, but I don't so much like seeing us talk about the business of the spiritual. I don't enjoy it. I
I
just
can feel
don't.
that, Drusilla. I can feel that.
Well, I'm glad you can. That means I'm being transparent,
Well,
and
and
I
you've
don't.
also talked it too. You've also said it out loud. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? Because I know, like, when I show up here to this podcast, like, my intention is to show up authentically. When I go to, and to just express whatever. When we go to our business meetings, I find myself holding back and like worrying about judgment, and not wanting to hurt anybody's feelings. Like I feel myself shrinking into a weird little old pattern, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm not as bold and as strong as I show up for a spiritual talk
Mhm. Very
because
interesting.
it is. And I wonder if that is part of it. Like I'm holding myself back from speaking because I don't want conflict at all. Like that doesn't feel good to me. I want us all to get along. I want us all to
That's
I want us
exactly.
all to have a voice. Mm-hmm.
That's
So
exactly what it feels like for me. It feels like it's the same struggle as the world. And
mm-hmm.
I don't want that. Like, yes, and I resist that.
Mhm.
But I think it's a good thing. I think
Yeah.
it's good because it's pushing through beyond, the things that I probably don't want to grow in that area, and so it's necessary. All conflict is necessary. I should be thinking it.
Yeah.
My sponsor always said to me in Al-Anon or FA, whichever one it was, that, oh, it was Al-Anon. She said, go to the business meetings, because we have business meetings in our Al-Anon meetings once a month. She goes, go to the business meetings, because that's where you're really going to practice your program, because
Yes.
that's where the conflict comes up. And that's where you get to decide if you're making progress or not, or you get to just practice. You get to practice. And so it's that's good to know.
Yeah, totally. I mean, Amanda and I experience it with the Power of Love Ministry too, because it's the energetic of the business side of that operation is totally different from the energetic of, going to the spiritual classes and stuff. I think it's interesting to witness the shift and the way people show up and the energetic signature.
So I wonder if there's a way for us, the four of us, to practice this week, showing up like we would for a spiritual conversation in those uncomfortable situations. I mean, what do you think?
I think that is the goal.
Mm-hmm.
I think it is. I think it's no different than um, compartmentalizing for husbands, as everybody by now knows if they listen.
Yeah.
We do that, right? So it's like we shouldn't shift to someone different in a business meeting because it's business.
Right.
And we don't like it or whatever.
And
we don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, or we don't want to feel like we're running the show or whatever it is. Yeah. Yeah.
And it really does go back to, are we lifting people up or are we tearing them down?
Yeah. And maybe saying, how important is it if I say the next thing I'm about to say? Is it really important or not? I have to say that to myself all the time when I see my husband doing things that I think should be different. Like, is it important to say it? Am I building him up or tearing him down? And I'm realizing a lot lately that I'm tearing him down.
Mm-hmm.
A lot. It's not fair to him.
Mm. And when we show up as someone else, like, are we actually tearing ourselves down or building ourselves up? And
Right.
is like holding ourselves back, and tearing ourselves down, is that giving, what vibration is that giving off? Right. Like, so if I'm diminishing myself, does that mean that I don't see the people around me as whole and complete and can handle whatever? Right. So, like, subtly, it's a form of attack or tearing down if I don't think someone could handle me.
Mhm.
Right.
That's a whole
Yeah,
nother twist.
it is interesting.
Mhm.
Like you have to mask or like conceal a part of yourself because it may be rejected or
Mm-hmm.
loved.
I just feel moved to read that Marianne Williamson quote about our deepest fear. Is it okay if I read that really quick?
Yeah.
Our deepest fear is not that we're inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who am I to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are you not to be? You are a child of God. Your playing small does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about shrinking so that other people won't feel insecure around you. You are all meant to shine as children do. We were born to make manifest the glory of God that is within us. It is not just in some of us, it's in everyone. And as we let our own light shine, we unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our fear, our presence automatically liberates others. I just love that quote by her.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
So empowering.
Yeah, so I think that pretty much sums up what we're doing here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Letting our light I was going to say, what just came to my mind was letting our light shine allows our business to expand and grow. And we're being counterproductive in doing otherwise.
yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like we very, very consistently pray in before getting started with the podcast. And we usually, but not always, do that for the business meeting.
Mhm.
Isn't that interesting?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. To
Yeah.
put them straight in every time with the same intention to show up authentically and get out of the way and let spirit lead.
So I have a little post-it on my computer. Go into any meeting with my higher power, pray and go into the meeting. I don't have to plan. I think that's something that I learned from Marianne Williamson. So I put that on my computer because a lot of times I forget to take my higher power with me.
I would just love to see how many Post-its you have on your computer.
Yeah.
I just have a couple, just that one, and I choose love. Well, I actually have a couple more, but I have this one, a note to tell me to do some things.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So how is that, like, how do you take that into your everyday interactions?
Yeah.
Mhm. We're talking about lifting up or tearing down the people around us,
Mhm.
and we were talking about being in business meetings, but like everyday interactions, is it a constant state of prayer? Do we like how do we do that?
Mm.
Just constant state of awareness, constant state of
Mhm.
prayer,
Mhm.
constant state of allowing.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I think also, like, A Course in Miracles says everyone prays and prays all the time. So we're always praying, whether we're aware of it or not. And so basically, what that's saying is like, whatever we're thinking about is our prayer. So it's just
Mhm.
kind of being very mindful of, are we putting nutrients into the one mind, or are we putting pollution into the one mind? And like, yeah, am I wishing to be helpful to, like, you know, boost the ego, or am I like being inspired to be of assistance and service to someone? Like, just kind of being conscious of our energetic signature and our thoughts. And
Mhm.
am I affirming that this person needs my help by supporting them, or am I just, answering the call for God? I don't know.
Yeah.
Well said, Morgan.
Mhm.
Thank you. I felt like that was a little all over the place.
No, for me, it boiled down to like, what are you thinking, right? Like,
Mhm.
what is your intention and what are you thinking?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And thank you for the reminder. Like we are like our thoughts are our prayers. Like what we are taking, that is what we're putting out into the world.
Mhm.
Sometimes I forget that every thought is a prayer. So thank you for that reminder.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah. And that's why like, every spiritual tradition speaks about the power and importance of gratitude, because the only real prayer that ever needs to be spoken, someone said, and I can't remember who, is thank you, God. That's
Mhm.
really the only valid form of prayer. And so coming back to gratitude whenever we can, as often as we can. Gratitude for my friend who appears to be experiencing cognitive decline. Gratitude for this meeting, which appears to be triggering my fears and whatever.
Mhm.
Gratitude for this moment. Gratitude that in this present moment, all of my needs are met. Um, just gratitude, gratitude, gratitude.
So beautiful, Morgan. It's so true. Yeah, if you think about it, when you're in fear, you're not in gratitude. Yeah. Any other tools and tips for our listeners that they can, look at and interrupt if they're breaking down people or breaking down those situations around them, that they can interrupt that pattern?
I think the number one thing for me is just like be really clear. Whoever's listening, be really clear. Do you want to actually support the people around you? Do you want to lift them up or do you want to break them down? No judgment, right? No judgment. If the answer is, you know what, I'm comfortable the way that things are, that's your path. That's fine. If your answer is like, yes, I want to lift the people around me up, well, then what we're talking about, like what we've talked about. I think just the answer to the question, just answer that question in your mind and then just see how things unfold.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It goes back to the beliefs, because that's going to be projected no matter what. Like understanding the stories that you're telling yourself about, right? That person you're in front of or that situation you're in. Always self-inquire, not looking outside, but looking inside. What is it that I'm feeling about this current situation? And you're guaranteed to understand what you're projecting outward.
Yeah. Well, and you could never really desire to tear anyone down if you truly loved yourself. So doing the self work, the self love work is really key here. And then I also would like to address like, okay, so what if we do have the intention that we really would like to build people up? We really would like to um, be in a constant state of prayer, of gratitude, of love, and putting that out into the field always. That's our desire. And we're having a human experience and we muck it up sometimes. Then what?
Forgive yourself and move on. I mean, I'm a human being. I'm not perfect. That actually took me a long time to realize. It took me a long time to realize that I don't have to be perfect. And that, in A Course in Miracles, it says we've never done anything wrong. So why would we beat ourselves up for it? Mm-hmm. And I know that's, for our listeners, that might be hard to digest right now, but that's okay. Just take it in, take what you like and leave the rest. But yeah, just forgive yourself and move on. Do it, and that's all about what we've been talking about, the self-reflection. Just, oh, wow, I behaved that way. What's a better way for me to behave in the future? Like,
Yeah.
how can I be different now? Because that really didn't feel good,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like sometimes, especially like for empathic people, like you can kind of get stuck in the mire of, oh, I really think I hurt that person. I really think I hurt their feelings. I really think I upset them. And so, yes, forgive yourself and move on. But how? And so I wanted to just mention that, time and space is an illusion. So you can repair any damage, quote unquote, that has been done from any space and time, past, future, whatever. It can all be undone right now. And there's that beautiful prayer in A Course in Miracles that says, I don't have to worry about the consequences of my wrong decision because the Holy Spirit will undo them if I let him. Mm-hmm. So it's just like immediately, it's just like kind of lets you off the hook. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, it's beautiful.
Thank you for that reminder. Because I said, I had, I said something unkind about someone to somebody else. And so when you were saying that, Morgan, I got a chance to go back and like not say those unkind words, right? Like I got a chance to go back and actually see this situation differently.
Yeah. And that's why a lot of those practices that many different people teach is to review your day. What did I do well? What did I not do so well? What would I like to have done differently? And just going through that creates an energetic signature that reverberates in all directions of time and space. And it's reprogramming you to respond to that new, different way in the future. Like there's so many benefits to that practice.
Mm-hmm. What was that last part you said?
I said, and yet I resist it.
I was right there with you, Morgan.
Evening review. I rarely do the evening review.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Morgan. It's one of the 12 steps, and I rarely do it as well. Yeah.
But I bet you every one of us does it more now than we did 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
True.
Any final thoughts, Drusilla? You've been quite quiet lately.
Have I? Well, I was thinking about Morgan's point, which she so eloquently stated about undoing the undoing. And I was sitting there thinking, well, how exactly does that work? And of course, the course explains exactly how it works, because everything we experience is happening in our mind, right? The past is in our minds. If we correct it, we allow the Holy Spirit to take us there and correct it in our minds. It's done. It is corrected. So that's all I had to add. That's what I was marinating on, and it felt so beautiful and freeing. Yeah, so that's it.
It's awesome. Well, I have a feeling that it's time for Penny's Post-its.
Let's hear it.
Oh my gosh. So, as I cultivate more love in my being, more love is radiated out to the world. That's really key, I think. um, be aware of what you aren't saying.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a big one too, I thought. And then, I don't know, these are both kind of the same, but they're really good. So let's see, others as whole, empowered, and see their beauty and perfection. I mean, if we can do that every day as we enter into conversations, I think, and if we show up in our essence and show up authentically, I think that is, and be in a constant state of awareness, be in a constant state of prayer, be in a constant state of allowing, and remember that every thought that we have is a prayer. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Wow. So as we close today's episode, let's just take a minute to notice the power that we hold in every interaction. And remember that our presence, our words, and even our silent expectations can either lift someone up or hold them back. So this week, as we close down this episode, let's choose to see the best in others, to speak encouragement, and to believe in their potential. When we empower those around us, we don't just change their day, we help shape a more compassionate, uplifting world for everyone. Wow, that's so beautiful. Just take that in. Yeah. And remember, if today's conversation sparks something in your heart, we invite you to take the next step on your journey. Whether you're seeking healing, clarity, or a deep connection to your own inner wisdom, we're here to walk beside you. So reach out to one of us for a spiritual counseling session, executive coaching, or relationship coaching, because together, let's open the door to miracles, loving transformation, and the life you desire. Remember, the universe responds to your willingness. So say yes and watch what unfolds. And get ready for next week's episode. Drum roll. The trap of explanation. How over-explaining holds us back. So come next week and hear all about that. And so until next time, keep choosing to build up and watch the ripples of your kindness grow. Thanks so much for joining us today. Your transformation is our greatest joy, and we can't wait to connect with you again soon. Have a beautiful rest of your week, everyone.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.